Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn, you may call me Joy, and today I would like to show you that I have in fact pierced my nose again here. So we've got two on this side, one on this side, with a nice like sparkly zirconia gold ring in that one, just to sort of balance out the two. And in commemoration, honor, do you need to honor a piercing? I don't know. I do. I got loads of them. I decided to make another video about body modifications and things because they always tend to do quite well. But because I've sort of only had the one thing done and it's not very exciting, I thought I'd talk about things that I would do, things that I would want, but won't actually do. And I know that I have said in the past, never say never, because there was a point in my life when I said I will never get my tongue pierced, and then that happened. And I said that I will never get anything below the waist, and then, well, that happened. But these are not necessarily to say that I won't ever do anything like them. But it's very, very unlikely that I will do these. And I have come up with a list, you know, about 14 or so, of things that I would like, would want, but will probably just never ever do for, well, they all have their own different reasons. But I have considered them and I do think that they look rather awesome. So I'm going to do this sort of like top to bottom because that's the only logical way I can think of doing this. So for starters, something that I will never ever do is a head tattoo. Now, I love these. I love the look of head tattoos when they're done right. They look so super awesome. I just feel like it's a lot of commitment to shave a part of the head, if not the entire head, to keep it like visible. And the thing is, I like having long hair, and although I did have the whole mohawk thing for several years, I want to stick with having hair on my head, and if I had a tattoo under my hair, that would frustrate me because I wouldn't be able to see it all the time. So it's really just more a case of I prefer hair on top of my head. But I do love them. I think they look freaking awesome. The other thing that puts me off though is the amount of pain it would take, because although I am very, you know, willing to go through certain amounts of pain when it comes to tattoos, that's just too much. That's just like on the skull, like that would be a lot. But I absolutely love them, and I have nothing against people who do have them. I think they are super duper awesome. The second thing that I would like is an eyelid piercing. Now these are pretty damn extreme. I have seen the images of them popping up more and more online, but I've never seen one in real life. I think they look amazing. They look very hardcore, but I would rather not risk anything going wrong with my actual eyes. And there is a risk of something going wrong. Like anything near the eyes, obviously there's a risk of something going wrong that's quite like detrimental. If something goes wrong, it goes really badly wrong. And this piercing comes with a risk of not only infection, like all piercings come with a risk of infection, but if, you know, if it's on the eyelid, that infection can get to the eye. Like there's lots and lots of risks of blindness or other eye infections, diseases. It's just not worth it. And that scratchy feeling of like something against the eye, come on now, that's gotta really just piss you off. Like, anyone out there who has that, that's gotta be something that really just irritates the eye. So I like the way it looks, but it's very drastically impractical and very risky. The third thing comes into the same kind of category. This is eyeball tattoos. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people have heard about coming from, like, I think it originated in prisons, and anything to do with the eyeball itself would just instantly put me off. I have a thing about eyeballs. I can't stand when other people touch theirs. I don't want things going into my eyes. Like, eye drops and water is like, that's it. Like, if makeup runs into my eye, I know how absolutely irritating that is. So I cannot imagine having a needle going into the, like, uppermost layer of the eyeball and depositing ink. That is a horrendous thought. Now, eye tattoos, they do look metal as fuck. They look really awesome. I think that, like, a full-on black eye would look really, really cool, especially with my blue, like, the coloured part of my eyes are sort of blue-grey. And I think like, having black would make that really stand out and look pretty damn cool. But like I said, I don't like things being on my eye. I don't even like contact lenses. So anything touching the eye there would be just a no for me. On top of that, this is again a very, very high risk procedure. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with the eye. And although I have showed an image of, like, an eye tattoo that's gone right, there were many, many pictures that I could have shown that I didn't want to put on the video because they were just so badly wrong. They were very badly infected and inflamed and everything, and it looked very, very bad. And it's just not worth running the risk of losing one's sight to look cool, you know? The fourth thing I will not do, probably not do, I've thought about it a lot. And although I would like to, it's just one of those things that's a pain to heal, and that is an industrial piercing. Now, these are not particularly extreme by any measure, but they are difficult to heal. And I've seen a lot of ones that have gone wrong with lots of, like, big keloid scarring. And although I am not prone to keloids, like, that's one of the worst ones for it. If you knock an earring, like, in the helix, the sort of cartilage part, like, that hurts. If you've got an industrial bar, like, pinning your ear to itself and that gets knocked, or slept on funny, or anything like that, then yeah, it's a recipe for pain and disaster. They look amazing. I love the look of them. They can look pretty awesome with some custom jewelry, but just no. Just, I know that I would end up knocking it or something, and they are just notoriously difficult to heal. Number 5, again in the ear region, is elf ears. Now, this is an actual surgery. While I have, again, when I was much younger, considered, oh, I would love elf ears, and I think that they would really suit my face shape and everything like that. I also know that I would have to, like, retire some piercings in order to do that, and I would rather not do that. Also, finding someone to do that procedure would be tricky and very costly as well. But again, when they're healed, they look amazing, and I definitely don't have anything against, you know, anyone who would want to do that. Whereas, you know, compared to something like the eyeball or eyelid piercing, or the eyeball tattoo, like, I think you got to be pretty brave and or stupid to want to do that, because it's just not worth running the risk of losing your sight. Whereas with an elf ear surgery, like, you're not at risk of losing your hearing or anything like that. The next one would be cheek piercings. Now, if you look carefully, you can see that these dimples are not in fact real dimples. They are the scars from when I had dahlia piercings. Now, what I wanted was cheek piercings, but the piercer actually told me that that wouldn't be possible, which, that was a red flag. But through having dahlia piercings, I learned that they just knock against the teeth when eating, talking, drinking, you know, and you move your mouth so much. So I ended up retiring those piercings shortly after they healed, just because, like, the bars just kept knocking against my teeth. And I, you know, changed to shorter bars. It still was a pain. So it's really just more because of, like, the knocking against the teeth that I wouldn't want to have cheek piercings. The next piercings, these are all sort of grouped together. So you've got smileys, frownies, and the tongue, like webbing. These all go by the name of frenulum. So the upper frenulum, like lower lip frenulum, and the tongue frenulum. And these are all, just because I'm a bit squeamish about these particular areas, I wouldn't want to have them pierced. They are very thin, like, pieces of skin, and it's very easy for piercing to just grow out and then fall out, rip out. Cringe, cringe, cringe. But on top of that, also, smiley and frowny piercings, if they're knocking against the teeth, that can really damage the enamel of the teeth. And again, it's not really worth having something, like, risk damaging you just for the sake of aesthetic looks cool. The next one would be on a similar sort of reasoning as the last one. This is snake eye piercings. So it looks amazing. I like how the balls look on the tongue, but again, damaging teeth, knocking against the enamel. It is also dangerous to do because it restricts the movement of the tongue in a way that, like, vertical piercings do not. Yes, some people have had it done and they're fine and everything, but there's still a lot that can go wrong. There's also, like, because it's a restriction on the tongue, it's also very difficult to talk with them as well. The next one, again, I would do this, have nothing against this. It is another surgical procedure. This is tongue splitting. Again, nothing against people who have their tongues split. I think it looks pretty amazing. But it does mean that if I had it done, I would have to retire a piercing. That one. And I don't want to do that. So that's just the simple reason on why I wouldn't want to do that. But also, tongue splitting, the healing is a long time. It's also, it looks pretty disgusting. Very painful from what I understand. And again, if it goes wrong, like, you've got a direct route to, like, infections going into you, which is not great. Certainly not something I would want to risk. Okay, the next one is a subclavicle piercing, otherwise known as collarbone piercing. Now, this actually goes in underneath the clavicle and uses the sort of bones as an anchor for the piercings. And I love this. I think it looks amazing. But because it's going very deep, It's a procedure that comes with a lot of risks of like nerve damage, tissue damage, all that stuff, and it's just not worth running that risk to have something that again looks nice. Like, I love the way that it looks. I think it's pretty damn awesome. And it is something that I would do, but I really don't want to risk anything going wrong, especially there. But it's fine. I have plans for tattoos there anyway. So the next one is hand webbing piercings. So I think these look amazing. Obviously hurts a lot to do, but like any kind of piercings or jewelry here on the hands is just going to be wildly impractical. Your hands come into contact with a lot of things, which means that there's a big risk of infection. It's also risk of like snagging, getting caught in things like doing everyday tasks. Like everything requires hands, like picking up bags, doing washing up, like putting on clothes. Like everything requires your hands. So as much as I really do like the look of this one, because it's so wildly impractical, I'm not going to bother. The next one, again, this is hand and also feet, is palm and sole tattoos. Now, this one's kind of obvious. It's just, they don't last. And I don't really want to have to keep topping up a tattoo in a very painful area that won't last. And it's just like, for me, a tattoo, like, why bother if it's not permanent, right? That's the whole idea behind them. And it's just, because these areas are so very sensitive, they're packed with nerve endings as well. It's a lot of pain to go through for not a lot of reward. So yeah, the ink falling out really is the main reason on that one. Right, surface piercings. Surface piercings come in many different forms, and this includes things like arms, wrists, nape, eyebrows, like anywhere on the body, corsets, piercings, like anything that is the surface of the body, where there's no sort of like protrusion that you're going through. I, again, like the look of them, but if they're on the body, then putting on clothes, getting snagged on clothes, stuff like that is always a risk. It's a pain. It's a pain to deal with. Eyebrows, I've had my eyebrows pierced a total of 4 times in total, and like snagging on like hairbrushes and t-shirts, like it's a pain. And then once something very sensitive gets knocked, like it will either heal back to the way it was, or it just will never be the same again. And I've had both of both of those things happen. But yeah, it's never really worth the pain, the healing and everything to then have to lose it. Also, surface piercings are very notorious for growing out, where they will migrate closer and closer to the edge of the skin until like you really should just take them out. And then you've just got a massive scar. If I want to get covered in scars, I'll just go scarification route. Like, why not? So for the next one, it's pretty much the same kind of thing as the last one. We're talking about dermals here. So dermals are like anchored into the skin with a flat back that looks a bit like a labret bar. And then you just have one like ball or like stud showing through the, you know, on top of the skin. And again, they look great. They look amazing. who wouldn't want to be covered in sparkly, like metally, jewelly things, like all over? Sounds pretty great. But again, largely impractical. Same with surface piercings, is they tend to catch on clothes and things depending on where they are, and also they do tend to grow out as well. Not as much as surface piercings from what I understand, but they still do carry that with, you know, that possibility, like a high possibility with them. And that's it. That's the end of my list of things that I won't do but would want if they were more practical, if they were less risky, if, you know, if basically. But that still leaves me a lot of things that I can do and shall do. I still have a lot of room for more tattoos. I still have a couple of plans for more piercings in some like not so difficult places. And yeah, like a couple of other options as well. But yeah, I thought I'd just talk about things like that just to keep the conversation going really, and explain like where I'm coming from when it comes to what I will and won't do, like what I'm looking for in a good body modification. So yeah, do all the internet things. Non-binary is valid, goddammit. See you next time. Bye.